Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Film church.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
I've had that once or twice in City Lights, just the last scene. I'm not acting, almost apologetic, standing outside myself and looking. It's a beautiful scene, beautiful. And because it isn't overacted, Charlie Chaplin.
Hello, and welcome to Film Church Radio. This is the podcast that treats cinema as a religion. It's Sunday, I'm Lewis.
And I'm Brandon.
And we are here to talk about movies. Each week, Brandon and I alternate picking a film for us both to watch and discuss. Today, I picked one of my favourite films of all time, Charlie Chaplin's essential 1931 silent film, City Lights. We are going back to our regular formatted shows after a couple of weeks of limbo. So glad that you're here. Hope that you've watched the film, that you love it, and you've come here to listen to us talk about it. If you want to know what to watch for next week and what Brandon and I will definitely be watching, stay tuned for the end of the show where Brandon will be revealing all. We would like to say thank you to everyone who has been listening to the podcast and sending their love for the show. If you're new to the show and are enjoying it, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when a new episode is available. This is a film church, so we post episodes on Sundays. And if you really, really enjoy the show, please share it with your friends. How can you share the show, I hear you ask? Tell them filmchurchradio.com or any good podcast platform. Head over there, find the show, give us a listen, and we much appreciate it. We are also on all the social media platforms at Film Church Radio, where you can leave us a comment or send a message about the show. And we also post extra content on YouTube as well, periodically, so be sure to go and check us out over there to see what else is new. Before we discuss the film, this is the part of the show where we sing hymns of other films that we've been watching, or just the praises. But hymns is kind of, it fits into what we're trying to do with this film church. So we're going to pick a few films to talk about, and we haven't done this for a while, so our lists were really long. So we've managed to just pick a few films, I think, to talk about. But Brandon, what have you been watching? What do you want to talk about?
On my list on Letterboxd. No. I'm not actually going to sing this part. So, yeah, tons of stuff. I mean, in terms of like new movies and movies that I've seen in the theater, The Dial of Indiana Jones's Destiny. And what else? Past Lives. I went and saw that. And
yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I didn't see the film. I saw that you watched it.
Yeah. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning.
Oh, we can talk about that.
I guess those are... I mean, I also saw Barbie, but we're going to save that. And then... Also, yeah, so those are in the cinema. I also watched The Beanie Bubble, which is new this year on Apple TV Plus. Flamin' Hot. The movie about the Flamin' Hot Cheeto creator. Directed by Eva Longoria.
Oh. That's a weird sentence.
I know. And yeah, so those are all new. I also I have watched a ton of other great films, older films, but yeah, I mean, Indiana Jones was, I gave it 3.5. I went in with really low expectations and just kind of enjoyed it for what it was. I don't even know if I'll watch it again, but it was a good way to spend a couple of hours. Didn't regret going or anything, but it just wasn't going to be what we all wanted, I think, or needed. No. And if I'm just going to watch the first three if I do a rewatch.
I was going to say, I think that's the same with the Crystal Skull, right? It's the feeling of we don't need it. It doesn't necessarily kind of fit into my ideal of Indiana Jones anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a fun time.
Yeah. And I didn't hate it as much as a lot of other people, but that's the thing is like, what did you expect?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way things are with these kind of movies.
Yeah, we're expected to be let down by big franchise films coming back.
Yeah.
It happens again and again, apart from Top Gun, for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like when you get a good one, then you have something to be surprised and happy about.
Yeah. I mean,
but don't expect it.
Yeah, I know. Top Gun for me was a complete surprise because I really don't like the original Top Gun.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It was a complete surprise to me too, because even with all the trailers for Top Gun Maverick, I was like, I am so not interested in this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But it worked. Somehow Tom Cruise pulled it out of his little bag and it worked.
Yeah.
So, but it's a high bar.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then Past Lives was really good. I also gave it 3.5 stars. It wasn't, it was a nice, intimate A24 film, about relationships and long distance friendships, and it wasn't life changing. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is the greatest film of this year. But I mean, it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I like, kind of intimate, smaller films like this. Just a beautifully made movie, I think.
Oh, good.
Flamin' Hot was pretty great. I mean, I also gave it 3.5. But it's a fun time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about the Flamin' Hot Cheeto. It's like it had to do. I mean, it's a true story of the guy who invented the Flamin' Hot Cheeto. And he basically, like, just to give you all the spoilers, I think it's on Hulu, but he was like a Mexican American that worked in the Frito-Lay factory as a janitor, and during the hard economic times of the 80s, they were like downsizing and shutting factories down, and he like didn't want to lose his job, so him and his wife came up with the formula for the Flamin' Hot powder to put over the Cheetos, and then he basically like forced his way into the CEO's corporate, not force his way into his office, but he got it. He found a way in, and then anyway, blew up, obviously. Directed by Eva Longoria. It's a fun time. I mean, it's not like going to be nominated for any Academy Awards or anything, but the representation is cool, and then there's like a few cameos in it that are cool, like interesting, like one of the people who plays one of the guys, like little kids, is like a TikTok star.
Okay.
Which is interesting. He's kind of one of the funny comedic characters in the film.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy, what is his name? Let me look him up real quick. He was one of the background actors, but he did have a line. But I recognized him. I was like, is that one dude? His name is Alejandro something. But he was on. Do you remember, like, a few years ago, Robert Rodriguez did the TV show Rebel Without a Crew?
I don't.
So, Robert Rodriguez, who we've talked about a lot, one of my favorite directors, created El Mariachi and the Spy Kids movies and tons of popular stuff. has a book about making his first movie. It's called Rebel Without a Crew. And then in 2021, he made a kind of reality TV show on his El Rey network called Rebel Without a Crew, where he basically picked like 5 different filmmakers, and then like people sent in scripts, and then from those scripts he picked 5 different filmmakers, gave them each $7,000, which is what he made his first film for. So they each got $7,000, and they had like 2 weeks to make a movie.
Wow.
And it's a really good show. Because you get to watch kind of like how they break everything down, and like, you know, what the end results are and their struggles. Anyway, one of the filmmakers, and a lot of the people are kind of working in the industry now, but Alejandro Montoya Marin.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of seemed like a young Guillermo del Toro.
Nice.
In terms of like personality and stuff.
Yeah.
On the show. I still haven't watched his movie. It's called Mondays, that he made on the show, but it looked really good, and like it seemed like the one that everybody had the most excitement about at the end. Like, this one is really good, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like the other filmmakers learned a lot, but this movie's actually good, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of cool to like just see him like all of a sudden in like this feature film made for Hulu.
Yeah.
Directed by Eva Longoria. So I'm hoping to see more stuff from him come out.
That'd be cool. Are you surprised at the amount of films we're getting at the moment that are like based around big corporations and like business decisions that made them a lot of money?
I mean, yes and no. Because it's like, the Beanie Bubble and Barbie. I mean, Barbie isn't about like the making of Barbie necessarily, but
it's Mattel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a commercial.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's gonna sell more Barbies.
Yeah.
Flamin' Hot's gonna sell more Cheetos.
Yeah.
And the Beanie Bubble is gonna sell more Beanie Babies potentially.
Yeah. People are going to get them out of the attic and then realize for the third time that they're still worthless.
Yeah. But you know, I mean, I think it's just a demand for content right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all of these. I mean, Apple makes movies and TV shows now.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's where money is at right now, and what people like, the demand for content is there. And all these companies, you know, I don't know. It's just there's so much that goes into it. Like, you know, trying to break down the reason these movies are getting made, but it's mainly that I think the demand for content is there, and it's the studio's decision to make these movies. It's not that screenwriters are running out of content to write. It's that this is what the studios are asking for, and so the writers are having to write these movies.
Yeah. So you think that it's a case of they're just putting out so much content that like everything is being exploited?
It's a case of that, but it's also a case of the fact that these movies are being made by big corporations, and big corporations love to suck each other's dicks.
Yeah, I guess it's like I know what you mean. I guess it's like when it comes to Oscar season and the films about Hollywood always do well. You know, it's the films about kind of the movie making industry, like The Artist. I mean, Babylon
that's a good point, because it's like, it's like, you know, when Hollywood does that, it's like, I mean, back in the day, it was like, you know, you had the big studios, and that's what they were. They were studios. They made movies. And then when they made movies about themselves, they were like, aren't we so cool? Let's give each other awards.
Yeah.
But now these studios are owned by like Comcast and
Mm-hmm.
AT&T and you know, Apple and you know all like these big
Disney,
tech
yeah.
corporations own the movie studios now, and so now they're like, let's make a movie about the Beanie Bubble and Flamin' Hot Cheetos and Barbie and
Yeah.
our products, you know.
Yeah.
I mean
I
that
just
could
think
have
it's-
something to do with it too, I guess, but
Yeah, the film industry always amazes me that, you know, there's a lot of people that will be like, oh, they're just copying all these other films that have come out at the same time. It's like, well, that's not true because these films have probably been in production for 2-3 years.
yeah.
So around similar times, all these different studios were greenlit films about like corporations and like,
Yeah.
you know, fads. And it's
Tetris.
just- Tetris, Air, Beanie Baby, Bob, like all these crazy films are
Yeah.
just coming out right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy to
And
me.
then but they're doing well, so like they're gonna
Yeah, Polly Pocket.
they
the
just jump
movie.
on the trend. And
Yeah.
the thing is, it's like, yeah, it's like there's tons of original screenplays and screenwriters and stories out there, but like this is what the studios are funding, so it's not
Yeah.
really because of writers necessarily. Not
No, and I
writers.
think, you know, you look at it and they're doing pretty well. I mean, Air did okay at the box office from what I remember. You know, I've seen a lot of things about Beanie Babies. I've seen it advertised a lot. I don't know if that necessarily means people are watching it. But I haven't heard about the Cheeto one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But well, that's also a weird thing. Is like
yeah.
Apple seems to be a little bit better about advertising their content. Maybe it's because they have less content than like Netflix and Hulu.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Hulu, things that get on Hulu you just aren't gonna hear
We've
about
said
it.
this for ages. Yeah, we've said this for a long time. That if
Yeah.
it's on Hulu, I mean, was it Bad Hair that we watched that was on Hulu?
Yeah.
And it was like, you had to dig, you know, it was like a Hulu original. It wasn't even like on any of the pages. You had to dig into the depths.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's so silly.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes me wonder, like, I mean, I guess it's like if you're an up and coming filmmaker, you're gonna take whatever you can get, you know.
Yeah,
If Hulu's offering you twice your budget for
Yeah.
you know, for your film, and no, you're not getting any other offers, I guess you're gonna take it because
And I suppose
it's a
the good, I
business.
mean, yeah, the good news now is that everyone's a critic. So like, if it does get lost or it's kind of like buried, if the filmmaking itself is good, you know, like Prey. I'm thinking specifically about
Yeah.
Prey.
Yeah.
People on Letterboxd, people on Twitter will start like championing it, and it will eventually like reach more people.
But
'Cause there's people
certain
that'll just
films
watch
have
everything.
always kind of needed that too, though, right? Like
Yeah.
even,
Mhm.
I mean, even Quentin Tarantino has like championed old films that nobody's heard of and like brought them back
Yeah,
into
exactly. Yeah.
to the forefront. So, I mean, maybe we just need to do a better job at finding these films and
Yeah.
talking about them.
Yeah.
Telling, like, preaching the gospel of these lost films
That's right.
so that Hulu can get more streams.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Hulu.
Stream Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Beanie Bubble I enjoyed it. Like it was,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun movie. Again, it's about, I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into. I mean, for me, it was kind of about Zach Galifianakis's performance. Like it was a really good performance. He was a perfect person to play this guy.
Yeah.
I feel like it's an Oscar-worthy performance. I don't know if a movie like this is gonna get. I mean, the reviews don't seem to be good, so probably not gonna get nominated or anything. But he's definitely someone I could see winning an Oscar at some point. And this is like a role that still he gets to play into his comedy but it's also there's enough drama that you get to see kind of a range of his acting ability.
Yeah.
Plus, it's like him shaving his beard for this role is almost like, Christian Bale gaining a bunch of weight for a role. You know what I mean? It's like so different from what you're used to seeing that almost that is like one of those things that I feel like people would be like
it's worth going to see it alone.
yeah, or just like, look how committed he is, But also, Elizabeth Banks is like, she's such a good actress. And, watching the movie, I realized like how good of an actress she is. Like, because she's so good that people, that she's like not on anybody's radar sometimes, I feel like. She's been around for a long time. She's been working for a long time. She's been in a lot of like iconic movies. But you never see her acting. You know what I mean? Like she always feels real. And it also made me just realize like, man, she needs like, she like deserves like an acting award. That's all I'm saying. It's like she's a really great actress. So
cool.
New movies. What have you been watching?
So we mentioned Bad Hair, and I watched the director of Bad Hair's new film, Haunted Mansion, directed by Justin Simien. The Disney new take on the classic ride. Seems to be kind of Disney's trade now is let's just cash in on what we like, our property that we own. Whether it be remakes or rides or whatever, So this one came out this year. It's got Lakeith Stanfield in it, Owen Wilson, Tiffany Haddish, Danny DeVito, Jared Leto is in it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let that put you off.
It's me.
Yeah. Yeah, thankfully he's bearable because you can't tell it's him.
Oh, really?
So,
again?
Yeah, so it's perfect. So it's great because it's like, it doesn't take you out of it. There's a few scenes where there's like old newspaper clippings and it's like, oh, it's Jared Leto. But other than that, you can't tell, which is really nice. And it's fine. I think the trouble is that these films seem to have no second draft of any scripts. There's things in here that seem to like start off really well and then go nowhere, and like we get big dramatic endings, and it's like, where has this come from? We've had like maybe one exposition before.
Yeah,
nothing seems to kind of really be overly connected story wise. I think that the performances are fine. I think apart from Lakeith Stanfield, unfortunately, he seems to be like every scene it's like a different person. There's some scenes that he really sells, and then there's other scenes that you're just like, wow, he looks like he just is not enjoying this at all.
Weird.
So stiff. I mean, Tiffany Haddish is really good, as is Owen Wilson, who has the majority of the jokes, but most of the characters, they just don't seem like they get written properly. They're all pretty one-dimensional. If you're a fan of the ride, you're going to love it. Because there's so many nods and stuff here to the actual ride that it kept my interest. I love Disney, and me and my wife got married there, so we kind of enjoy the Disney being shoved down our throats. Which this does. I mean, it's fun. It made me laugh a few times, which is good. Other people were laughing in the cinema as well. It's not brilliant, but it's not as bad as some people have written. I gave it like 3.5 because
it's not Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, and it's like, for me, I think that it's scary enough to warrant the name Haunted Mansion, but it's not too scary that you don't want to take your kids to. Yeah, there's a few things in there. I mean, it's not jump scares, it's just like creaks and like eyes looking at you through walls and stuff. So
Yeah.
which is good.
Nice.
But yeah, doesn't really stick the landing too much. And then I watched My Name is Alfred Hitchcock from this year. It is a documentary directed by Mark Cousins, who did the story of film that we've talked about before, and a lot of other kind of film and TV work around the history of cinema. In this, the whole premise is that it is written and narrated by Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
So he gets impersonator Alistair McGowan, who is pretty big in England. He used to have a TV show of like impersonations and stuff, to basically do an impression of Hitchcock and talk us through like 6 different areas of like that attracts him to his films, basically. So we get, you know, a lot of different new takes on the cinema of Alfred Hitchcock, which is really interesting. And it's a good way to do it. I think the only criticism that I would have is that there's so much that's already been said about Hitchcock. He's so talked about. The writing and documentaries and stuff already out there is so dense that it is hard to say anything new. And at times it does feel a little bit like, is this a fresh take, or are we just looking at this from a novel way because no one's done it before?
Yeah.
I still think that it's worth a watch. There's a few things in there that come up, and having Hitchcock basically talk to you through the whole film is really entertaining.
Yeah.
So I gave it 4, and I probably, you know, I am going to try and go back and rewatch it again a little bit later to just give it another go. But yeah, I mean, what can you say about Hitchcock that's not already been said? I think that's the problem it keeps running into.
And it's just like a documentary film, right? It's like a couple of hours or...
Yeah, 2 hours, just some, you know, clips of his films. And
because I know the other Mark Cousins stuff is like real long.
Yeah, no, this is a movie, so this is just 2 hours. It was out in cinemas and stuff. I think it should be available to rent on like streaming platforms and stuff now. But it is worth a watch if you're interested in Hitchcock and aren't, you know, completely fatigued by information on him. It is interesting. There's a lot in there to kind of get from it. You know, a lot about camera angles and stuff that I like a lot.
Yeah, sweet.
And then I rewatched I, Tonya from 2017. I'm trying to go through a bit of a phase now where the films that I really liked when they came out, especially the past like 10 years, I'm going to go back and try and watch them, because I seem to just watch them once and be like, that was great, and then just forget.
Yeah.
And with Margot Robbie being so front and center at the moment because of Barbie, I thought this is a perfect time to go back and watch it. Really good supporting performances from like Sebastian Stan, Alison Janney, Paul Walter Hauser as well. Just all round, like everyone knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
It treads that fine line of making her kind of like a villain, but also making you feel sorry for her as well.
Yeah.
And it's a good, entertaining couple of hours.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's probably as good as I thought it was when it first came out. But it's still a good watch.
Yeah. And she's amazing in it too.
Oh, I mean, everything. She's amazing in it. I've had a real inkling recently to go back and watch Babylon, because I know that we talked about it, and I wasn't like in love with it, but I really want to go back and watch it again. So I'm probably going to try and do that this week.
Yeah, I got it on 4K the other day, and I want to rewatch it too.
Yeah,
it's also just beautifully shot. Like, it's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's part of it, but just Margot Robbie can do no wrong. I don't know where she goes from here, but it's going to be up.
Yeah, I mean, she's also a producer on Barbie, which we'll talk about next week. But she's making all the money right now for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And that was it. that was
Cool.
everything. Well, it wasn't everything. There was a lot of other stuff that I watched, but they were the films that I wanted to talk to you about.
Sweet. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, you're welcome. So now the other film that Brandon and I watched was my pick, and we're going to go and talk about it now in our feature presentation. City Lights from 1931. The Letterboxd summary: True Blind Love. City Lights is the first silent film that Charlie Chaplin directed after he established himself with sound-accompanied films. The film is about a penniless man who falls in love with a flower girl. I picked this film because I talked about it a little bit on our top 10 episode a few weeks ago. Did a double bill between this and The Kid. And at the time you said, "Oh, I've never seen it." And instantly I was like, okay, we're going to have to watch it soon.
Yeah.
And I know that you've seen What Great Dictator and amongst others. Which other ones have you seen?
The Gold Rush
Yes.
and yeah, The Great Dictator, and that might be it, honestly.
Mm.
I mean, maybe
I-
like some older ones, or when
Like
I was like
shorts and stuff.
younger. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Because I know that this is probably now like the highest regarded of
Of
his
all of
films.
his.
Yeah. So it's a good one to watch. I mean, it recently came in at number 36 on the Sight and Sound Top Films of All Time poll,
Yeah.
which is, pretty high. I think, is it the highest silent film on the list? I'm just going to have a quick scan through. Oh,
Possibly.
Sunrise and Man with a Movie Camera. So it's the third highest rated silent film
Gotcha.
on the list. But don't let that be a barometer because it's notoriously terrible for remembering silent films, the list. So that was just a useless
Yeah.
fact. There you go. But first impressions, Brandon, what did you think to City Lights?
Yeah. Obviously, it's great.
Yeah.
The whole time I was just, getting ready to cry. Based on like what you and Zach said.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, my initial thoughts were just like, I mean, it's so evident his talent, right?
Yeah.
His entertaining capability and his writing capability. Obviously, like the use of sound stood out a lot. And I didn't realize this was his first, sound, his foray into using sound in his films. Because it's basically still silent, which just got like sound effects and stuff, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So, but he uses them so creatively to like, not to point out that there's sound, but to kind of like add to the comedy.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is interesting about the film, and this is probably applies to his other films as well, is that his jokes seem to be like kind of low-hanging fruit,
Yeah.
but he takes, like we were talking earlier, like when he's like, be careful with your driving, and he's like, I'm driving,
Yeah.
It's like, it's such a, yeah, it's like low-hanging fruit. It's like, it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels just too obvious, but he makes it really funny. He makes all of these things really funny, and with the way that he embodies the character and the delivery of the jokes and the way that the other characters embody their characters. Yeah, it's like filmmaking 101, right? It's just like, hey, here's how you entertain people. And it's cool because like most comedies don't age well.
No. Yeah.
But this film is so universally comical and accessible that these jokes don't age. They're still funny. They still land.
I think Charlie Chaplin would be giving you the biggest smile right now if he was listening, because you've kind of hit the nail on the head. This came out, 31? 1927 was The Jazz Singer. So like the first kind of Hollywood foray into sound.
Yeah.
Sound was kind of everywhere. There was only 2, I think, silent films released this year from North America, which was City Lights and F.W. Murnau's Taboo. And Chaplin was so afraid of not afraid, but like resistant of going over to sound, because when it was silent, he was like, it was universal. You could sell it to any market and everyone could watch him. They didn't need the sound. And then going over to sound, he was worried about other markets. So the fact that he said that this is such a universal thing, I think he would be, it did its job. It was still available to everybody,
Yeah, it works, and I think, his character of the tramp is like such a. It's something. It's a character that I think everybody can kind of relate to in some ways, because everybody at some point has been like down on their luck, or felt kind of lower class, maybe.
Yeah.
At least the majority of people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Can relate to that in some way. So just, the genius of that character and sticking with it through all the films, I think is probably adds to his success. It just worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like the whole opening of the film, starting off like the reveal of the statues and, just trying to get this homeless guy off the statue. And, it just opens up so strong. Yeah. And then it just continues to be funny throughout. I would say that like, what really took the film from just like, oh, this is like a film with, really great scenes and really great gag after gag, to like, oh, this is brilliant, was the boxing scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it took it to like, oh, there's a master at work here.
Yeah.
Because just the whole buildup of that sequence and of the character, needing to get money for, to help, he's trying to get money for someone else, it's not like he's just needs money. Yeah. So like there's, you're on his side, because it's like an act of kindness and empathy and stuff. So you want him to get this money, and then the guy that's going to split it with him, he's like, all right, I get, I can do this, but at least it's just going to be an act, they're going to split the money 50-50, and then the guy bails because the cops are after him. Mm-hmm. And then you get this this other guy that comes in, and he tries to see if he'll split the money, and the guy's like, no. Yeah. But just the build up, what's the right word? Just the build up, I guess. The build up of that whole sequence. The tension, the building of the tension, I think, is what I'm trying to say. And it's still really funny, but I found myself, it wasn't just funny. It was, I felt the tension. I was like, I don't know where this is going or how this is going to end, or how he's going to pull off something satisfying.
Yeah.
Without me feeling sorry or like, I don't know, like let down in some way. Like, like it was like the building of that tension was also me being like, you better like end this well,
deliver,
or else I'm going to be mad, And then like the whole rabbit's foot thing. And then the guy comes out and he's like trying to wipe the rabbit's foot off now because he like lost. And then the guy that knocked the other guy out that was using the rabbit foot, it's going to be really confusing if you haven't seen this movie, because I'm just saying the guy that did this and that. But basically the boxer that he's about to face ends up knocking the winner out of the previous round just with one punch on accident in a little brawl in the locker room, just to add to that tension, to where he's like he just knocked the previous guy out with just like a little knock to the face. And then so like at that moment you're like, okay, well, this is going to be over quick.
Yeah.
Like, where does the storytelling go from here? Because you've just built up that the guy he's about to face is unbeatable.
Yeah.
There's no way that the Tramp is going to have any any legs to stand on, or have any chance of winning. But he just goes back to this like storytelling 101, man. It's just like he makes it so fun and entertaining, and it just that whole sequence just had me busting out laughing. Like they go out to to fight, and it's just one ridiculous thing after another that again almost felt like low-hanging fruit, but it was like I couldn't see it coming. It was like all the gags and the way that he drew that sequence out, but kept the tension in there, was just brilliant storytelling. And then the way that he does it, where like the referee is like standing in the middle and he gets some punches in, you almost feel like, okay, well, actually maybe the Tramp is going to win this fight. And that's kind of where I thought it was going. But then he just doesn't win anyway.
No.
And it
I know.
like...
I was going to say, the important thing here is like the end is how he loses, basically.
Yeah.
It's I mean the boxing ring was obviously kind of a trope in the silent comedies. It's a great playground for people that for the comics, I guess. Most of them ended with the comic winning by some lucky slipping over and punching them by accident, or something of that ilk. But Chaplin loses in quite a spectacular fashion. He seems, as soon as the dancing behind the referee kind of ends, it's not really left in any doubt that he's going to lose. Yeah. He gets kind of pummeled from there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With some great comedy moments. I love the bell being around his neck, and every time he falls down, the bell rings, so he gets up to go back to his side.
Yeah. I love the part where he like punches the guy in the butt. Just like funny little like, I don't know. It's almost like you have to like think like a kid.
Yeah.
To come up with that kind of stuff, I think.
Yeah. It's so simple, but it's deceptively simple, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
It when you're watching it, it just makes complete comic sense. But trying to come up with it, I mean, it's like a dance. Like the whole sequence is just like it's like a beautifully choreographed dance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It just looks effortless.
Yeah, and I think it's it looks effortless, but it definitely wasn't.
No.
Because this kind of filmmaking and storytelling does take a lot of care.
Yeah.
You have to really care about what you're making.
Yeah.
And I think that's what stands out with really good silent films, or really good films, they don't even have to be silent, but just older films.
Yeah.
Is that they're not using like camera trickery or stylized spectacle to kind of to sell the movie to you. They're just using storytelling. The camera's not moving around. It's just on the actors, and so the storytelling is the performances and the way that things are being delivered to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't, to tell a good story, you can't you can't trick someone into thinking your story is good by doing something stylized,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah, I mean, it just goes to show like the care, I think, and effort that he did put into it. The fact that it just looks so effortless,
Yeah.
and comes across that way.
Yeah.
What so what's your experience like with this film? And I mean, you know, obviously it's in like your top 10 films of all time. It was also this was the film you went and saw at the Texas Theater, right?
I went to
Or
see
was that-
Safety Last
Oh,
at the
okay,
Texas
okay.
Theater. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I mean, Chaplin's always been, I mean, most of my root of like love of classic cinema really stems from Chaplin. I can, you know, a lot of my early film watching was when I was independent and could kind of pick the stuff I wanted to watch was more directed towards Chaplin, I guess.
Yeah.
City Lights itself is something that I think I came to pretty late. I don't think I watched it as much as, I mean, The Kid was the one I went to and watched a lot. That's kind of like a personal favorite. And maybe Modern Times more than City Lights.
Yeah.
But I think that there was a moment in time when the ending especially just kind of got me. And I don't know, there's just more pathos and care to this film than any of the others, and that's saying a lot because they're all very well-crafted movies.
Yeah.
And I think that especially mine appreciation of cinema evolved, City Lights just improved again and again and again. It was less about the jokes and more about how he made you feel that way at the end.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that's necessarily... I don't feel like it's contrived to make you like get emotional.
Well, yeah, that's the thing about that scene is I don't think that necessarily. I think there's just something magic that happened. You know, I don't think it's necessarily something that anybody planned.
No, and it's literally the last shot that gets me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all the whole point. You're just like, oh my god, I'm so like she's remembered. This is great. And then it's that last shot of Chaplin smiling that I'm just like, this is like, it just transcends it. You know, it's just like, it's magic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's crazy the way that it happens too, because I mean, the whole time I was like, okay, there's going to be some kind of scene where I get emotional. Yeah. And it's literally not until till the very end. And it just kind of, even with me anticipating it, it was like a clear switch of like just this wave that goes over you.
I know, yeah.
And
you feel so, it's like a relief. That they found each other.
Yeah.
You know, because The Kid also makes me like tear up a little bit, but that's the scene where the kid is taken away and they're both kind of like crying themselves and like, you know, reaching out and stuff. And it's like, okay, that, you know, that is made to make me cry. I mean, the tagline is, I think, you know, this film will make you like have a laugh and shed a tear or something like that. So it's kind of, it wants you to be emotional.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just so pure. And
yeah, exactly. Because I think it's not forced, and it's not like, like I said, I don't think they created that scene to make people cry or anything.
No.
I think it's just like, here's what feels right. Let's shoot it. And they probably still didn't. I mean, you wouldn't know that until you edit it. You know, it's something that happened in the editing room once it was put together. It was like, oh, this is actually really good or really impactful, and it's like something you can't.
You can't recreate it. Yeah, it's not something that you would go in kind of planning for, like you said. And I think that the whole, you know, he's so selfless the whole film up until that point. He doesn't even, you know, it's not seedy at any point. He's just in love with her. You know? And like with the boxing match, I just love the scene where he's been knocked about a bit and he kind of envisions her next to him. And even that's done really delicately. It's not kind of I don't like it's not done for laughs. Apart
Right.
from the punchline at the end, as he's kissing like the hand of the one of his coaches that's
right.
kind of
Yeah,
helping
yeah.
him through.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so sweet, you know. I mean, that's what Chaplin does the best, is this kind of comedy and, you know, pathos. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. Have you shown, how many times have you like shown this to other people?
A few times. I mean, Chelsea and I, it got Chelsea when I showed her,
Yeah.
you know, the ending. It's just so great.
Yeah.
And, you know, a few other people at uni and stuff, I used to wheel it out. I was the most fun at house parties. Like, come and watch City Lights.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it just works for everyone. I don't think you necessarily have to be that interested in it to get it, you know.
Do you think that the emotion at the end works so much better because you've been laughing so much?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, they are like similar parts of the brain,
Yeah.
I think. So I think that you're already in that state. You're already kind of prepared to emote, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that, yeah, because I mean, it is funny, you know. So you are laughing throughout, and then you get the sucker punch at the end. But I think that's a good point. Is that yeah, it works so well together because it's comedy and, you know, crying.
Yeah. One of the parts that made me like bust out laughing is when he tries to like spoon the bald guy's head.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite gags is where he's driving the eccentric millionaire's car and he sees the cigar stub on the side of the road, and he jumps out and like pushes the other guy over and then jumps back into the car in like his tails.
Yeah.
It's nice to be on the other side. I think that's really good. The opening scene is probably one of the funniest scenes for me that Chaplin did, like in full.
Uh-huh.
I love the, you know, getting caught on the sword,
Yeah.
and then having the Star Spangled Banner play and like his leg keep going, which I find really funny.
Yeah.
And it's the when the people who are kind of presenting the statue are speaking, it's like a kazoo noise that he makes, which I've seen people kind of say is his like thumbing his nose to the sound era. And like, look how ridiculous it is when people talk in these movies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He does do that where they're like just like
Yeah. And it's him, it's Chaplin with a kazoo doing that sound. Even for the woman.
Yeah. That's great.
And the Star Spangled Banner, which plays, was not the national anthem for the US until after it was released.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is really strange. It's just like a patriotic song that he chose.
That's funny.
So now for us, we just feel like it's the national anthem, but it was just a patriotic song.
Yeah. Just a regular song.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's great. I don't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, I mean, I think the part where the guy like eats the soap and then he's like, like bubbles are coming out. It's so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so like, it's like, what could we do to make people laugh? You know?
Yeah.
It's like you can tell that like things like that, like he had so much fun with.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Like,
doing the shot from the
to come out?
side.
Yeah,
making the bubbles look like they're coming out of his mouth. You know,
because this film feels like a kind of greatest hits of Chaplin in a way, because that kind of stuff that, you know, the really silly slapstick stuff, he obviously got from like his time at Keystone and like other, when he first started in the industry, like making these really low budget kind of silent comedies, slapstick stuff. And then even like him playing a drunk is how like he got his start. He was in vaudeville, and I think it was called A Night at the Opera, and there was like a play on the thing, and he would come on from the side, sit in the box, and be like a drunk audience member that would like shout and like fall over and stuff like that, and that was like the bit. So when he's playing the drunk, you can just see how expert he is at it. I mean, when he gets onto the dance floor and he's his legs are just like out from under him, but he still manages to get the whole way across. It's I don't know, like I don't know.
Yeah,
how he does it.
he is that did stand out to me too. Was just like how good he is at that, at playing a drunk, because that's also one of those like universal things. I think it's like, you know, there's nothing in this movie that you don't get. You know, like in terms of jokes or comedy, like it's all things that are still relevant.
Yeah,
you know, and even like, you know, the drunk guy, like the rich drunk millionaire that is friends with him when he's drunk, and then when he's not, he can't remember him or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I don't know. It just all works.
It
Not
does.
being able to pay your rent.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know. Just like all of it.
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, it's timely, it's universal, it doesn't stop being funny.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's ever going to be a time where it's not hilarious, you know. I really like in the party scene how they keep like throwing off their jackets as if to fight. Like any kind of inconvenience, they're like, right, we're going.
Yeah. Contrast to like, you know, when he's actually gonna fight and he's
exactly.
and he's sober.
Yeah,
you know?
and he's terrified.
Yeah.
I like the bit that sticks out the most is like what's going on here. I think is like the whistle scene where he swallows the whistle, and he's like summoning the dogs and the taxi cab, and it's just so left field. But it is. I love him walking back into the party and all the dogs just following him.
Not well. I guess it just made me remember that scene in Gold Rush, where he like accidentally gets tied to the dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just looking at your trivia that you put in here. And so what holds the record for the amount of retakes of a single scene? Which is 342 times? What scene is that?
Yeah, so that is when the flower girl meets him for the first time. And I think, you know, we have to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, because obviously when they were making this film, it wasn't like he had figured everything out, written the script, and then they went to shoot it. They were doing a lot of like working it out
on set,
on the go. Yeah, so this was like he needed the blind flower girl to assume that he was rich, but he didn't know how to like put that onto the screen.
Yeah.
So eventually we get the car door slamming, and she associates that with like him
high
being,
class.
Yeah, exactly. So most of this was I think that it's kind of him working out how to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he tried to. I think it was 3 times during the 2-year shooting schedule, where he was like, "We've got to go back to that scene. I'm not happy with it." So they had to keep going back and like redoing it, and apparently it was 342 takes.
Yeah, that just goes to show, like, again, the amount of care.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, a lot hinges on that scene. Like, if you don't get it right,
yeah,
you know, then the audience is going to get lost.
Exactly. And there's lots of people that say that his way of working was to like come up with as many ideas as possible of how to do something, and then just eliminate down to until it was like perfect.
Yeah.
So it's probably like, 100 takes of different ways to do it, and then he would just like work until it was like the most perfect version of what it could be.
Yeah. That's
it's
a
so
really,
simple. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's one way to do it.
Yeah. When you are the most successful man in America, you've
Yeah.
got the time and money to do it.
I mean, but see, it's like by that logic, this new Aquaman movie should be really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the difference between movies that do that nowadays and Charlie Chaplin is there is a single visionary throughout the whole thing, whereas these other movies like just change leadership constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Chaplin knows exactly what he wants.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Did not get on very well with Virginia Charrow, who plays the blind girl. She kind of annoyed him quite a lot, tried to get her replaced, but she was on contract, so had to kind of make do.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think when it was finished, she said that Charlie didn't really like her at all. That was like her one thing about it.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, Charlie didn't like me at all.
It's crazy that it still came out so good. Like that didn't bleed over into the images.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. But I mean, it works. She's not my favorite Chaplin feminine, love interest, I guess.
Yeah.
But it does work really well.
Yeah.
But they were also filming this film for 2 years. And if you were...
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, playing a blind girl for 342 takes where you just had the one line or the 2 words or whatever she says in that scene, it would have been pretty frustrating as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, she probably had her reasons.
Yeah, I mean, spending that much time with anybody can probably...
Yeah, drive you nuts.
Yeah.
Top grossing film of 1931 in North America. $2 million, and then took, I think, $5 million worldwide, so $3 million from overseas. Just kind of backing up that it was universal, that anyone could go and watch it, but failed to get even a single Oscar nomination.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is mad. Yeah, it's madness.
Were the Oscars as prestigious back then as they are now?
I think it was the 4th Academy Awards that would have been in 1931, or like for the films of 1931. It's either the 4th or 5th. So it was basically the studios kind of congratulating themselves on making a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think he had been given like an honorary Oscar for just being incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, at this point they were like, oh no, we're all about the talkies. So
yeah,
this is not worthy. And
there's no talking.
Yeah, just kazoos and slide whistles when he's slurping spaghetti. So yeah, didn't receive any, which is a travesty.
Lame.
But in 1950s, when it was re-released, I think Variety called it the best film of the 1950s. So it got that accolade. Yeah, it got re-released in like the 50s, and Variety were like, yeah, it's the best year of this decade, the best film of this decade. So,
my God. That's so silly.
So it's just, growing in popularity all the time.
Best film of the century?
Who knows? It's pretty close. That would be like the best film ever, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good films. But this is up there. I think if you're kind of wanting to study kind of the touchstones of like the history of cinema, this has got to be up there.
Yeah.
Over the other Chaplin films.
Yeah.
So, you've ticked it off the list now, Brandon.
I did it.
Woohoo! You did it.
I want to watch it a few more times because I think there's just so much, especially as a filmmaker, just so much to learn.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know. I'm trying to not I think when just as a filmmaker, I'm always like, oh, I need to watch this or I need to do that. I need to learn this or that and I tend to not. It's like I'm getting away from just sitting down and enjoying something.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So
Yeah,
just sit down and enjoy it. Just stop
know.
like trying to learn so much.
I know. Yeah, I think I know exactly what you mean. That's kind of why I'm trying to go back and rewatch films that I really liked before.
Yeah,
Because it's like I'm just always constantly trying to chase the film, like, and watch everything.
yeah,
I feel like I'm always like, I've got to watch something I haven't seen before. I've got to tick another one off.
yeah,
And it's like, no, just go back and watch things that you like.
yeah. Just enjoy life.
You could, stop putting so much pressure on yourself to
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I don't know, to
Just
impress no
transcend.
one.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
like no one cares.
yeah,
Like, oh, I've seen every Chaplin film. Like, who cares? Nobody.
yeah. The people who care are not around anymore.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. I did show Amelia a little bit of City Lights. She kind of came in and sat with me when I was watching it. And she was like, I want to meet Charlie Chaplin. And I was like,
Aw.
I would like to meet Charlie Chaplin too. And she said, I think he's probably with the princesses because he's a prince. I was like, yep.
That's where he hopes he is.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder, like, I wonder if there's any like Charlie Chaplin impersonators out there that. I mean, I'm sure that was huge.
Yeah.
Several years ago, but I wonder it's probably not anymore.
Did I tell you about the time that I met I say the as if he's like the only one, but I met a Charlie Chaplin impersonator in Hollywood when I went.
Oh,
he was
okay.
kind of like outside the Chinese theater.
I don't think you told me about it.
Yeah, and he was dressed as Charlie Chaplin with everything. And I had my Charlie Chaplin t-shirt on at the time because I was going to like Hollywood, so I wanted to be as filmy as possible.
Yeah.
And he was shocked. I don't think anyone had ever kind of come up to him knowing exactly who he was.
Yeah.
As like, I can remember because like there was other people there, there's Darth Vader and stuff like that, and they charge you for a photo. And he was like, oh, I'm not going to charge you. I just want to have a photo with you.
Yeah.
Because you obviously like Charlie Chaplin. And he was like shocked. So I will put that on the Instagram, that photo of me and the fake
That's
Charlie
awesome.
Chaplin. Yeah. So
yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, because it's like it's got to be such a niche. Thing now.
Yeah. To me, I'm just like everyone should know who Charlie Chaplin is, but yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
So it's a shame.
Yeah, because it's probably not even once a year that someone like you would come up and be like,
Yeah.
Charlie. Yeah.
But
that's
it was,
awesome. I wonder what that guy's. I wonder if he's still doing it.
Who knows? This was maybe 10 years ago. So
because it's like
he's probably still there.
Because I don't know. It just seems like a character that you could like hire for parties and stuff. But it's like
yeah, exactly.
But there's probably no one doing that.
No.
And no one that even wants it.
No. I mean, even me, the biggest Charlie Chaplin fan, I'd be like, that would be super awkward to have him just kind of show up and hang around.
Yeah.
With none of the grace or decorum of Charlie Chaplin.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you just... Maybe that's something that we can look forward to in the future with augmented reality.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
hang
this
out
is
with
my
Charlie Chaplin.
My new calling. Just lose a bunch of weight, drop about a foot in height, and I can be Chaplin.
No, you just have to stand around people that are taller than you.
Wow. Will only be hired for parties if you're 7 foot plus.
Yeah. Just get all the NBA players to really into Chaplin, and then get them to hire you.
Yeah.
Just gotta like subliminally like get them to fall in love with Chaplin.
Sounds like a lucrative career.
That would be a great movie.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
The story of you trying to sell yourself.
Convince basketball players that they like Chaplin.
Yeah.
Just so I can be a convincing impersonator.
I want to see it.
Yeah, well, I'll write together a spec script.
All right. Sounds good.
Anything else you want to say about this perfect film?
No, I just had the thought that maybe Spike Lee would be your way into that career.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause he's, basketball fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Classic movie fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could help you.
Yeah.
But no, man. I mean, this movie is, it's amazing. I mean, what else can I say? Go watch it, everyone.
Yeah, and it's streaming I think it's streaming quite a few places, so like Criterion Channel and stuff like that.
Nice. Oh, I just got your text with your picture. That's awesome, man. That guy looks so happy.
I know. That's what I'm saying. He's so excited to be there.
Yeah. I mean, he's like full on in character. I mean, the amount of makeup he has.
I know.
Like, just as much care into his costume as Chaplin put into City Lights.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. And you got your Starbucks.
I do have my Starbucks. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. He looks like I'm the celebrity, which is always made me quite happy.
That's awesome.
Perfect. Well, do you want to guess what we each rated it on Letterboxd?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's in your top films ever.
Yeah.
It's got to be 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
I think 4.5. I'm gonna say. I think my gut's telling me 4.5.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think my gut is also telling me 4.5.
Yeah. Our guts are talking to each other.
Zombies.
Awesome.
Cool.
Sweet. Well, Brandon, what are we going to be watching next week?
Well, with the popularity of Barbie, and also because my girlfriend recently went back and watched this movie, I'm curious after what she told me about it, because I've seen it before, but I want to rewatch it, and see how it's aged, see what I think about it now, see what you think about it now. It is Frances Ha.
Perfect. I haven't seen this film for quite a while. I'm excited to go back. That's a great pick.
Yeah, but I think it came out in 2013, right?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
Have to double check.
Yeah, directed by Noah Baumbach.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig, starring Greta Gerwig.
Perfect. It's going to be a good chat, and we'll probably do a full Barbie chat on that one as well.
Yeah,
it'll be the Greta Gerwig episode.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I'll try and get to see Barbie again before we talk.
Yeah. I would like to go see it again too.
Yeah, that'll be good. Perfect.
It will.
Well, that sounds great. Can't wait to do it next week. And if you want to watch along with us, you definitely can. And then come back, same place, same time, next Sunday to hear us talk about Frances Ha. That brings us to the end of the show. You can find this show on Twitter and Instagram at Film Church Radio, and you can follow us individually on Letterboxd. Brandon is at Selman Scope, and I am at Walker Lewis 3007, and you can keep up with what we've been watching in real time. I log them as soon as the credits roll. We also have all our back episodes streaming on all good podcast platforms, so please go ahead, leave us a rating and review so we know if you liked the film, if you didn't, and what you would pick for us to watch in the future. Thank you so much for being here. We love that anyone's listening. It means a lot. And we hope to see you next Sunday for more Film Church Radio. Brandon, the only thing left to say is...
You can see now?
Yes. I can see now. It was really hard to pick an ending quote because it's silent, so
Yeah.
this is the best you're gonna get. Amen.
Amen.
Bye.
Peace.